Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live 10 at 10.
New businesses will be making their way to Detroit Lakes, and when they get there, they could be greeted with a lawsuit. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. The city of Detroit Lakes can expect to see a new hotel, restaurant, and condo complex in a busy part of town that's along the water. But it won't come without a fight. The Detroit Lakes City Council approved the nearly $12 million project tonight. However, that same project will likely face a lawsuit from the Minnesota DNR. Valley News Team's Krista Boehm explains why.
Here's a look into the future of the corner of Washington Avenue and West Lake Drive after a 69-room hotel, restaurant, and 9-unit condo complex takes over. A project some neighbors say is just too much.
It seems like the current proposal adds more pavement near our treasured and already overstressed lakeshore, and a hotel development that would detract from the aesthetics of the beach, lake, and park to local citizens and visitors.
It's going to be a problem. It's already a problem with parking down there currently without this project. They're trying to take a large project and squeeze it into a small spot.
This proposal was approved on a 6-2 vote by city leaders, despite the threat of the DNR lawsuit. In a letter to the council, the Minnesota DNR says that the project disregards state law that protects this shoreline area, and it even disregards a city ordinance. The building would be 52 feet, and the city limit around here is 25. Despite that, some council members say after 30 years, it's time for this lot to be filled.
Many projects have come forward in front of the council, but all these people had dreams and had no money to back it up with. We had all kinds of ideas, but when it came to financing, they couldn't get anybody to finance anything. They thought the city taxpayers should.
A decision by a council that will now prepare for a lawsuit. Krista Boehm, Valley News Live.
The project developer says this project will improve runoff and water quality coming off that site.
A 12-year-old boy is lucky, avoiding serious injury after being hit by a truck earlier tonight. It happened along 1st Avenue and 4th Street South in Fargo about 7:30. The boy was riding his bike, cut across 1st Avenue just as a car was turning the corner. The driver says he didn't see the boy and struck him. Paramedics looked over the boy, found nothing was broken. His mom did take him to the hospital as a precaution.
One person is dead after an explosion at a rail yard in Omaha, Nebraska, and another man still trapped in a rail car. An Omaha fire spokesperson confirmed that tonight. The spokesperson also confirms the body of a second victim was recovered shortly before 7:30. Witnesses reported an explosion and flames shooting in the air, and a hazmat crew was called to the scene. GE Rail is the company that is listed at the address of this incident, and it's responsible for repairing rail cars.
The Moorhead Fire Department reports its response times are being compromised because firefighters can't get around the trains that pass through town. A spokesperson says it can only meet its goals in 2 out of every 10 calls, and the tracks are closed for up to 6 hours a day. Today, we timed how long it took one oil train to pass through. That was over 10 minutes.
Well, I get upset, yeah, when you have to sit here, especially I live in the south end of right up down the street. When I come, I got to sit here for at least 10, 15 minutes just to get over to over to North Moorhead.
The need for grade separations in Moorhead has been around since at least 1975, when a study then urged lawmakers to fund the projects.
There were more than bus riders with just book bags today on some Moorhead school buses. Some were carrying badges. Police rode along to remind drivers to keep their eyes on the road. The concept is simple. Officers ride on school buses looking for distracted drivers. Both law enforcement and the school district want drivers to be aware of the surroundings near schools and around school buses.
This school year alone, we've had 130 violations, which means that 130 people have driven when the lights have been red and the stop sign's been out on a bus. Most people aren't going to do that. What we're trying to figure out is why they're doing it, and a good reason would be they're distracted. They're using an electronic device. They're sending an email. They're responding to a text message. They're taking a selfie and sending it to their people on Instagram.
Distracted driving by Minnesota law is driving while using electronics, but officers say if they notice you doing something dangerous while driving, like eating, putting on your makeup, or driving with your pet on your lap, you could be cited for careless driving.
Some U.S. senators are urging that politics be put aside to help our children by fixing No Child Left Behind. It became law in 2002 to aid schools for low-performing students. States would get federal money based on yearly standardized test scores. There were penalties if the schools didn't perform well. Senator Lamar Alexander from Tennessee crafted a bill called the Every Child Achieves Act. Supporters say will get the job done. The bill gives more power to the states. School districts will decide what to do about improving student learning.
Our proposal allows but does not require states to develop and implement teacher evaluation systems that link student achievement to teacher performance. States will be allowed to use federal funds to implement evaluations as they see fit.
Senators in the committee will be discussing amendments to this bill all week long and vote on them before it heads to the Senate floor.
White Earth Tribal Police made an arrest in an assault of a 15-year-old who was brutally attacked at a party on the reservation about a week ago. The 15-year-old girl, acting as the abuser in this video, was transported to the Moorhead Juvenile Detention Center after tribal police found her on the reservation. The girl was apprehended after violating a probation order, and charges are still pending. Tribal police are still investigating this assault.
Too close to call. That's how the superintendent of the Maple Valley School District describes today's vote on a new high school. Brian Wolf says the matter will likely be decided by absentee votes, and those will be counted Monday night. As it stands now, with 753 votes cast overall, 450 yes, 303 no. That's a 60%, 40% split, with 60% needed to pass. Residents are deciding for the second time in 4 months whether to approve a $10.3 million bond issue. If approved, the new high school will be built in Tower City and turn the existing one into an elementary school.
It's Tuesday. That means it's time for our weekly restaurant report card.
And of course, that's where we pull the most recent health inspections to find out which restaurants have a dirty slate and which one wins the Clean Plate Award. Valley News Team's Christina Craig paid a visit to Jamestown.
Spick and span, this chef keeps her kitchen pristine, something environmental health inspectors have noticed.
My two biggest things are to watch your surface and utensil contact to make sure you're not doing cross-contamination.
Emma Rosie's home cooking takes the win for this week's Clean Plate Award. But it's not all good. Aramark, located on the University of Jamestown campus, was slapped the most violations in their recent health report, totaling in at 9. 4 were critical. Some of the more severe violations: buildup in the ice dispenser and thermometers in the cooler were not reading the proper temperature. Aramark Corporate says these matters are taken seriously and the facility team has addressed the problems. Our next stop is at Applebee's in Jamestown. It was cited with 6 violations, 3 critical. Food stored in the fridge past its expiration mark wasn't thrown out, and inspectors noticed they needed to clean utensils more often. Applebee's management wouldn't let our cameras inside, but say they corrected all errors and welcome working with the health department.
I feel like their support. I feel like I can ask them questions whenever I need to, and I just really enjoy the partnership we have.
All in effort to keep you safe and healthy when dining out. In Jamestown, Christina Craig, Valley News Live.
If you want to check out our previous restaurant report cards, visit us at valleynewslive.com. And remember to like Valley News Live on Facebook. You can follow the latest news, weather, and breaking news updates anytime on your feed. Just search Valley News Live, like our page, and you'll stay informed throughout the entire day.
Valley News Live 10 at 10 continues with no wait weather.
Some of the gusty winds starting to taper off into the evening. Really a pleasant day. Yeah. And it's funny, the winds did decrease just a little bit, but it still felt, pretty nice. But the winds are going to really come back with a vengeance tomorrow. Severe Weather Awareness Week, this time of the year when we start to think about severe thunderstorm types of weather and what we need to do to stay safe. One of the threats is lightning. Avoid those tall objects. Stay inside when those thunderstorms come if possible. And regarding on the water activities, whether it's in the pool or out at the lake, you want to make sure you get off of the water once you start to hear thunder. That storm is getting close enough to cause some concern to you. Now, cars can be safe to protect you from the lightning that thunderstorms produce. Thanks to the metal shell that you're surrounded by, they offer some protection. Just make sure your window isn't rolled down and you're touching the metal shell. Also, stay away from metal objects and also the electronics inside the house. not a bad idea. We hit 80 degrees in Fargo Moorhead today, 84, that record set back in 1942. It was a hot one out there. We had plenty of wind out there, and now the wind quieting down just a little bit, not as gusty. So that's 16 miles per hour from the south-southeast. Still nice and warm, 67 degrees, 61s in Lakes Country, both Detroit Lakes and Fergus Falls in those 60s, and we have temperatures in the 50s along Highway 2. Our winds have tapered off across Lakes Country, but once we get into the central Dakotas, we still remain windy, with the colors here indicating the gustiest of the winds, over 30 miles per hour. The hour-by-hour forecast, as we set it into motion overnight, it does look like we are going to have windy conditions continuing. This basically is the radar right now, showing snow developing in the western Rockies of Montana, also Idaho, and moving into Wyoming, where there's going to be some wintry weather. But for us, that threat for fire does continue. We have a red flag warning that was just canceled. And now as we head through the overnight, I expect the winds to be persistent at around 15 miles per hour. We'll have temperatures near 50 degrees to start out our midweek day on Wednesday. Now watch these isobars get mighty close together throughout the day. Gusty winds, they'll be strongest where we see the isobars real close together. The Devil's Lake Basin in the early hours will see gusts to around 40 miles per hour. Temperatures rising well into the 60s and 70s by the afternoon. Not as warm on Wednesday, but it will be windier. So if the winds really do set up over a great area of the region, I anticipate that fire danger to once again be quite dangerous outdoors. Remember, all of our dead grass and prairie grass across the region makes great fuel for fire, so it doesn't take much to get it going. Into the evening, we'll start to see storm developing out in the mountains of southern Wyoming, where we could have some very lofty snowfall amounts. Here's a look at the fire weather watch for the region for tomorrow, and in all likelihood, many areas will be once again in a red flag warning. Temperatures falling into the 50s to start our day. The wind picks right up once the sun comes out, be gusting to 35 to 45 miles per hour. Low to mid 70s for Fargo Moorhead. Elsewhere, temperatures in the upper 60s to around 70 across a better portion of eastern North Dakota. Also, our southern counties and Lakes Country will have a good chance at some 70s. And with all this warm weather, that ice at Cormorant Lake having a tough time out there. Zachary catching some geese out there doing a little bit of fishing on Big Cormorant Lake as the water is starting to open up there. Thanks for sharing your photo with us on Facebook. Here's the planning forecast. It does look like we are going to have some sprinkles on Thursday, and then as we go through the remainder of our weekend, it looks like we really cool down Sunday into Monday with another chance of light rain. No heavy rain in the forecast.
But sure is nice to have those nice temperatures. It felt like summer today.
It does feel nice outside.
Yeah, thanks, Hutch.
Still to come tonight, the foods that you should buy organic and the ones you can pass on.
But first, how heartbreak and physical heart issues could go hand in hand.